I had a little light come on in my car this morning. Light came on and it said that my car needs coolant. Now, that this will come to California here in a moment. You'll have to pardon the pun. I know they need a lot of coolant, but light came on in my car. Car said needed some coolant. It's no problem. I'm just going to stop by the shop on the way home, grab some, put it in there. But I want you to pretend like I didn't know how to do that. And then I went to my doctor's office, family doctor. Hey, doc, let me in. I need some help. Doc opens up the door and says, okay, Jesse, what's going on? What's wrong? Hey, doc, I got some car trouble. I need you to come fix it. Well, that wouldn't make any sense, would it? It's not his area of expertise. It's not even an area of interest for him. He knows a lot about the human body and nutrition and your heart and things like that, but I wouldn't go to the doctor and expect him to have any level of knowledge about fixing the problems in my vehicle. So where am I going with this? Why even bring this up? Well, I had a conversation over the weekend with a lady, her family, her husband, her kids. They had been run out of LA because of these LA wildfires. And she was a friend of a friend's. We were all sitting around talking, and she exclaimed to me, she was so confused that it just came out so loud, why aren't any of these politicians helping? She's talking about the California politicians. She's not a super partisan human being. Not really right, not really left. Why isn't Gavin Newsom helping? Why isn't Karen Bass helping? Why aren't these people helping? And very similar to me going to my doctor to fix my car troubles, I had to explain to her, you should have seen the look on her face, I had to explain to her that you, me, we have a completely different outlook on what our politicians should be doing, different than what they think they should be doing. You see, you, me, when I elect somebody, wherever they are, whether it's on the school board, if I elect someone to the school board, I expect them to dig in, to feel a duty and dig into the kids and the school and the curriculum and get everything laid out. When I elect somebody as mayor of wherever it may be, I expect them to have a sense of obligation, a sense of duty towards whatever town or city they're a mayor in, and they're going to go to work and they're going to put in the work to be a mayor and do those things. A governor, same thing for his state. He's going to show up every single day. He's going to lay awake at night and he's going to stress about what's going on in his state. He's got to fix his state. That's what you want politicians to do. That's what I want politicians to do. But what we have right now in California is just the latest example, is an extreme case of what happens when there's only one party rule, so there's never any performance competition for places like California when it comes to Democrats. If you are a Democrat at whatever level you're running for office in California, you never, ever, 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 except for the red counties, you never have to worry about competing with Republicans in this way. Meaning you don't have to get up and, hey, I want to be mayor of LA, and my Republican mayor wants to be mayor of LA, and boy, he's got some bad ideas for the city. I've got good ideas for the city. Here's all the ways I'll help the city prosper and be safe. But my Republican, and the Republican he'll have his own views. No. This is how we're going to prosper and be safe. But you don't ever have to concern yourself with these things in a place of one party rule. And so what happens? Well, if I'm a Democrat and I don't ever have to concern myself with the Republican that may be running, well, I now just have to figure out how to win my primary against the Democrat. And in this day and age, the year of our Lord 2025, what's the best way to really stand out if you're in a primary field full of Democrats? We have to prove how communist you are. Oftentimes, you need to check the cultural Marxist boxes. Is he gay enough? Is it a woman? Is it but really, what it comes down to is, who's the craziest? That's how you stand out in Democrat primaries. No. You want to tax the rich? I want to murder the rich. Oh, yeah, go vote for that guy. That's how you stand out. Well, what you get when you vote that way enough times is you get people in positions of power that L.A., I mean, Karen Bass of LA, the concept of LA, making LA better, that's not why that person's there. That's not why that person ran for office to begin with. That person ran for office to do what communists always do. Of course, promote the revolution, but reward her friends and punish her enemies. Those are, as we've discussed many times, the only two things a communist does with power, and they're the only two things he's interested in. As I explained to my friend from LA, you're sitting there stressed about why isn't Gavin Newsom helping? Why isn't anyone stepping up? Where is Karen Bass? How is this guy not jumping in? And how's this guy jumping in? And you know what I said to her verbatim? I said, you might as well be asking why the Lucchese crime family in New York is not redoing the parking garage at JFK Airport. Completely different missions in life. Karen Bass just came out after all these cuts to the fire department. Of course, she's handing out a bunch of big fat contracts to who? Well, allies in the city. She's not there to put out fires, solve problems, or help LA. She's there to take taxpayer money and hand it out. And she's there to find her enemies and throw them in prison. Gavin Newsom doing the exact same thing right now. Why isn't Gavin Newsom doing more? Gavin Newsom wants to run for president in 2028. Cross my heart, hope to die. Gavin Newsom has not gone to sleep one night or woken up one morning with a genuine feeling of concern for anybody burning alive in Los Angeles. Those kinds of thoughts don't enter the minds of these people. They simply don't enter their minds. It never occurs to them at all. These people are only there for the next job or the current job. How do I grab more money and power? Give it to me, give it to my friends. How do I find more government ways to punish my political enemies? This is how the communist thinks. Gavin Newsom thinks about 2028, where he can potentially vault to the next job, President of the United States of America. You're wondering why he doesn't step up. If you could hook him up to a lie detector test and ask Gavin Newsom to his face why he isn't stepping up and helping the people of LA, the results would horrify you. The people of LA? That thought never occurred to him. Help the people of LA. That's not how these people think. It becomes, I believe it was Aaron McIntyre, I want to make sure I give him credit for this, the purity death spiral of wherever the communists take over, you see? Whatever position you're in. You want to run for school board, you're trying to compete against other Democrats on the school board. How do you stand out? How do you get elected, be more communist than the guy who's currently there? You're Karen Bass, you're running for mayor of LA, you're running against this Caruso character. Yeah, he's a business guy, he's got business interests, but you can just tell people, look how black and lesbian I am. You got to vote for me. Gavin Newsom, same thing, on and on and on it goes. And if this goes on for long enough, you'll eventually have the second biggest city in the United States of America on fire. And not only is nobody putting it out, no one's even interested in it. They are interested, though, in the revolution, you see. For the communists, it is, as Mao said, revolution without end. It can never end. Every single thing. Once human beings are just cogs in the wheel, once you don't care anymore, once you're a communist, once you're an anti-human, once those things come, then everything is really just an opportunity to push forward the revolution.
These types of catastrophic risks, these fire risks, they are increasing. We're seeing the change coming from climate change, and we're seeing more significant severe weather events. That's what we're seeing here in California.
This idea that this is just the new world we're living in due to the climate crisis, extreme heats, prolonged droughts, hurricane force Santa Ana winds, all of that created the tinderbox fueling this catastrophe. Does the scale of devastation in Los Angeles indicate that we as a country are just simply not prepared for the realities of the climate crisis?
No matter what, it all comes back to the revolution. Joining me now, my friend John Phillips, host of the John Phillips Show. He's joining us from Palm Springs, California. John, it really doesn't matter what happens. Hurricane, arson, looting, it doesn't matter. It all has to come right back to politics for these people. They don't see death. They don't care about it. It means nothing to them.
Let's just go ahead and take their argument at face value for a second, because it still makes no sense. Their argument is that climate change is so severe now that cities and states, with the normal response that they would give to something like this, just can't keep up with it. Okay, fine. If climate change is that big of a deal, then wouldn't that be the place where you're spending all of your time? Wouldn't you recognize that the fire risk is now greater than it was before? The flooding risk is greater than it was before, and put your time, your energy, your resources into that because you know it's coming, instead of, gallivanting across the globe, going to inaugurations in Ghana, or traveling around the country campaigning on behalf of Grampy Joe and Kamala Harris after that. If they actually believed what they're saying now, they would stay in California and they would be working on trying to mitigate all of these potential dangers. But they're not. And here's the other thing. Can you blame climate change on erroneous text messages that were sent to everyone repeatedly in the county, telling them to evacuate, even if they weren't in an evacuation zone? Is it climate change responsible for them taking a reservoir offline so that there was no water to fight the fire in Pacific Palisades? Was it climate change that cut the budget of the fire department and then lied about it? If these people were serious, they would be acting in very different ways than they are now. They're bad at their job, they're absentee landlords, and they just got caught with the worst case scenario. This is the consequence of bad government that we have to live with in California.
John, I tried to explain to people a couple minutes ago that they are serious. They're just not serious about anything that the people care about. You know, the people think that they're out there trying to stop fires or help LA or California, but these people are so sick and they've lived in a place with one-party rule for so long that California or LA are protecting people. These are honestly, they're childlike concepts for them. California never occurs to these people.
Well, and they're also bitter. Don't forget, Gavin Newsom thought that this cycle he would be the Democratic nominee for president, and he would be the president-elect at this point, getting ready to start his term as president. And then Grampy Joe screwed him over by endorsing Kamala Harris in the tweet, and now he's just a lame duck governor. Karen Bass was on Grampy Joe's short list to be vice president. It wasn't until Kamala Harris's political people kneecapped her with all of those negative stories about her praise for Castro and all of her history that knocked her out of the running. She thinks, I'm sure, that she should have been the Democratic nominee for president. She should have been Grampy Joe's vice president. So they feel like they're being punished by having to deal with state and local issues that they were elected to deal with. And they don't have any thoughts on these things. They see this as just them being on some kind of detention or home confinement. They see themselves as heads of state, of leaders of the free world. And why are you bothering them with these parochial problems?
Oh, man, that's so on the nose right there. All right, John, for those of us who aren't there, and that's most of us, I realize California is a big state, but I realize social media gives us all kinds of video and pictures, and you're going to get the same pictures of wildfires in the hills, but that doesn't give you an on-the-ground really a feel for the amount of devastation. How bad is it?
It's really bad. If you've seen any of the aerial photographs from anyone flying into one of the commercial airports, Burbank or LAX, you can really see it from the sky, especially at night. But you're talking about thousands and thousands of people who are being displaced, because we've had to deal with fires that are larger than this in California before. What's different about this fire is that it hit a population center. So you're talking about the largest fire in the history of Los Angeles County. LA County is the largest county in the country. And you're talking about the costliest fire in United States history. When you factor that into an insurance crisis that we've already been dealing with, where it's very difficult for California homeowners to purchase insurance policies, and now all of a sudden you have this, we could end up with a situation where insurance companies don't make it out solvent. You could see the state plan, the plan of last resort, the FAIR plan, which Gavin Newsom is in theory supposed to be running. That plan will likely go bankrupt because of this fire. People are going to see in California their home insurance premiums spike right now to pay for this mess. And my guess is you'll probably see rates nationwide jump too, because these companies are going to have to make it up somewhere.
God have mercy. And that brings me finally to what a lot of people are not thinking about right now, the rebuild. When, God forbid, the fires are all gone, the smoke is blown away, the dead bodies are piled up. The people who are going to be in charge of rebuilding LA are some of the most despicable communists in our society. I can't imagine that process is going to go well.
They want us all living in mixed-use housing above a Panda Express. They want us riding their murder trains. They don't want you having a car. They don't want you having a pool. They don't want you having a single-family home. They want you living in a high-density neighborhood. Now, Newsom is claiming that he's not going to do that with Pacific Palisades, but just go on social media and look at what the left is calling on him to do. They want him to rezone these areas. They want high-density housing to go back to these neighborhoods. And I'll tell you, there's a template where this has happened before, and it's Lahaina in Maui. That's what happened to those people, where that beautiful island was devastated by a fire. And then you had these speculators, you had these developers that swooped in, and they're happy to take that land off their hands. And they're happy to put high density housing that will make them a lot of money. And I've had homeowners whose homes burned down call into my radio show. And they're worried that that's going to happen in their neighborhoods too. And I think they have reason to worry.
Pods for everybody. John, thank you, my friend, as always.
Thank you.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.